5 seller mistakes could sink your home sale. Selling a home may appear like a basic procedure. Seller tidies it up, indicated to a couple of individuals, and one of them gets it. The inconvenience is that the procedure is in reality substantially more confounded, with lawful and practical considerations seller may not know much about. In some cases, sellers commit basic errors that could cost them huge, even after the deal is finished. When selling a home, keep away from these common seller mistakes. 1. Setting the listing price on subjective terms. A few homeowners surmise that the most target term to use at the cost is the sum they paid for the property, in addition to the cost of enhancements, notwithstanding the real estate agent's charges. That list evaluating method of reasoning is not objective from a buyer's point of view, and has little to do with real market esteem. Testing the market by estimating high is conceivably the most expensive seller mistake. Abstain from playing games with evaluating. Set it appropriate from the very first moment. The listing price for a home must be founded on a thought of the present market esteem, which is commonly assessed by an examination of recent home sales and current listings for comparative homes. While this may not work well with seller desires for the home, in the event that seller overrates his locally established home sentimentally or a desire to test the market, seller run the genuine danger of having the home site available for a considerable length of time. Evaluating a home to sell rapidly is not quite recently proficient, but rather the presence of mind. The truth of the matter is, the more drawn out a home holds up with a dynamic listing, the more buyers begin to ponder what isn't right with it. Overrated homes don't have sellers, with the exception of the keen sellers of adjacent homes who will utilize the overrated listings as use. 2. Requesting expensive upgrades shortly before selling. There is a major distinction between preparing a home available for sale and influencing a group of moves up to it to expand the sale cost. The previous is down to earth and can create a superior sale cost, while the last infrequently bring about an equivalent degree of profitability. Regardless of how much cash seller could toss into his home, target enhancements that are well on the way to expand his arrival on investment. For instance, refreshing upper room protection may get seller more in esteem than he paid. In correlation, in the event that seller got the kitchen and remake it starting with no outside help, he will pay a few $1,000s more than seller will get in expanded home estimation. 3. Answering incorrectly on seller disclosure. Questions concerning rounding out a seller's disclosure, check with a lawyer about his particular condition. Amid the selling procedure, the seller will finish and sign a considerable measure of printed material. Consider every last bit of it legitimate documentation, and treat it with the most extreme regard. On the seller disclosure, homeowners are gotten some information about specific parts of the home. Commonly, they are coordinated to check yes, no or do not know. A few sellers believe that they can sidestep a portion of the delays required with the investigation procedure by marking no on things of which they are uncertain. This demonstration can reverse discharge and cost a considerable measure of cash long-term. On the off chance that a seller affirms the great state of a specific structure or framework in the home and they are intentionally noting mistakenly, would it be able to kill the arrangement, as well as even in a fruitful sale, the buyer may have grounds to look for cures against the seller in the wake of shutting. To maintain a strategic distance from such a situation, home sellers should endeavor to be approaching about the data asked for on the seller's disclosure. 4. Selling without a real estate agent. There are homeowners who sell their homes without the administration's a real estate agent. Notwithstanding these sellers' interpretation of significantly greater duty regarding the sale of the home. Whatever seller do, he ought not to take with the choice. The reality of the matter is that real estate agents charge a commission on the sale cost as their expense. However, with this change comes a lot of ability and support for the seller. All in all, selling a home without an agent likewise makes other real estate agents reluctant to connect with the seller on a sale, since they realize that they are presumably not working with an expert or professional. Besides, it's likewise shockingly regular for a FSBO inclining to either be altogether overrated or underpriced, in any case, costing the seller a considerable measure of cash over the long haul. 5. Ignoring expert real estate advice. Sellers pay a real estate agent to be an expert close by to enable them to sell their homes with a minimal measure of stress. It is an administration that is intended to make seller life simpler and the net seller more cash at shouting. Seller ought to be a dynamic member in the dialogue about how best to sell his home, yet all counsel ought to be considered important. Employing a nearby agent has significant advantages in that this individual thoroughly understands his local advertising, directly down to his neighborhood. They can let him know accurately what buyers search for in homes like sellers, which makes their aptitude precious. On the off chance that seller doesn't feel great after his agent's guidance for reasons unknown, the seller is in an ideal situation finding an alternate agent whose exhortation seller will acknowledge. Selling home points out for the astounding subtle element. Homeowners who set sensible costs, limit significant redesigns, take after their agent's recommendation and keep up trustworthiness in the selling procedure will probably sell their homes without bother. For free samples of probates, inherited, foreclosures, absentees, landlord, vacant, code violations, evictions list visit www.oilsupermarket.com.